if the U.S. sends thousands of troops to go take this stupid island that Iran doesn't even need, does that look like an island that is easily defensible for amphibious troops landing on? Does this look like an island that U.S. troops would have anywhere to hide if the Iranians decided to drop everything they had on it? The way this war is probably going to come to an end is the forcing of Trump's hand by way of U.S. body bags coming back to the United States. The quickest way Trump could achieve that result is by sending thousands of troops to this entirely flat island, which would then be probably leveled by Iranian ballistic missiles and Shahed drones. What do they think they're going to accomplish by taking this island? Oh, the troops get stuck on the island? Let's send some Chinooks in and evacuate them. Those Chinooks are going to get shot down. What do they think they're going to do here? Sending troops to this island is by far and away the number one quickest route to getting hundreds, if not thousands, of American KIAs immediately. There is a little island off the coast of Iran that is getting a lot of attention right now. Oddly enough, this little island, it's called Kharg Island. It's been the focal point of several war games, U.S. produced war games like video games over the last several decades. There's been a relentless fanaticism over the idea of capturing Kharg Island, okay? This is where 90% of Iran's oil exports travel through. The crude oil travels through before being sent to China or wherever else, okay? So there is a lot of focus from the U.S. on the idea of capturing Kharg Island. It's like this mystical idea that they've had for quite a long time. During the Iran-Iraq war, obviously, Kharg Island did face action. We're going to be talking about that in this story, but it was bombed nearly 3,000 times during the Iran-Iraq war. So what I'm trying to paint the picture for all of you here right now by saying is Iran has understood that the U.S. would try to target this island for a long time. It has been targeted in previous wars, and they're prepared for everything. All right. But there's a lot of attention right now on this Kharg Island, and there is a Marine Expeditionary Unit, an MEU, of roughly 5,000 U.S. Marines that is being sent at lightning speed to the region. Now, a lot of people hear that and they say, what are you going to do with 5,000 Marines? Well, if they're stupid enough, they will try to do something on Kharg Island. I think that's probably, 5,000 Marines. I don't think they're going to be using 5,000 Marines to try and, launch some sort of an operation inside of Iran's nuclear facilities, which are very well fortified, very well protected. Maybe they're going to try to target this island. 5,000 troops. Could it be enough? Well, I'll let you decide as we discuss exactly what's going on. But first, I want you to hear from General Keith Kellogg, who's on Fox News, to discuss the matter of why Kharg Island is so important to the U.S.
What I would hope they would do would really go take Kharg Island. Kharg Island is in the northern Persian Gulf. It is an island. It's offshore about 18 miles. And if you take that island, that's 80 to 90% of the petroleum usage that the Iranians have. You basically shut them off economically. They cannot support China. They cannot support Russia as well. And sooner or later, the other side's going to realize this is just a bad news thing. So
I don't know if someone wants to inform General Keith Kellogg, but Iran does not export any oil, crude oil, to Russia, first of all. Russia has more than enough oil on their own. So, no, I don't know how that's going to cause the collapse of Russia if you take out Iran's oil export epicenter. As for gas, I mean, Iran literally gets Russian gas. They receive Russian gas. So I don't know what he's talking about with regard to Russia. As for China, as always, China can find oil from other parties like Russia, for example. And by the way, in the lead up to this war, after the 12-day war, China and Iran worked diligently day and night, pumping out record amounts of oil exports to China because they knew that this war was coming and they knew it would be a long war. So they actually prepared for this. Okay, if you look at the monthly oil exports from the end of the 12-day war up until the start of this war, Operation Epstein's Fury, it was, leaps and bounds above the standard monthly rates of Iranian oil sent to China. But let's get into more of the details here, because Lindsey Graham is also seconding this idea. He said Iran's attempt to close the Strait of Hormuz is done at its own peril. We're going to be talking about the Strait of Hormuz in another story tonight. President Trump's decision to take the war to Kharg Island, the crown jewel of Iran's oil and gas economy, was necessary, bold, and in my view, highly effective. Now, I want to repeat something for you that you may have heard on other programs or you may have seen on Twitter this week. This was not the first time that the U.S. decided to bomb Kharg Island in this conflict. So the idea that this is some unprecedented act by Trump, I mean, they've literally bombed it already once before in this very operation. So I don't really know what they intended to hit that they didn't hit the first time. They claimed that they hit a bunch of military sites. You're going to see what Kharg Island looks like in a second. I would imagine that this is not a place that has a lot of precious military infrastructure just laying out in the open. I would imagine that most of it is, very quick to be mobilized, highly mobile, small units that can be deployed from underground bunkers. Maybe I could be wrong about that. I don't know how easy it is, how deep the bedrock is there on this tiny island. But I don't think that they have a whole lot in terms of defenses there. And if they do, I would imagine that they probably hid them pretty well, given how small the island is. But Graham goes on to write, seldom in warfare does an enemy provide you a single target like Kharg Island that could dramatically alter the outcome of the conflict. If Iran loses control of or the ability to operate its oil infrastructure from Kharg Island, its economy is annihilated. He who controls Kharg Island controls the destiny of this war. Semper Fi. Sounds really badass until you think about this whole idea that Kharg Island is the key to destroying Iran. Okay, if that's true, why didn't they do it from the very start? If that's true, why didn't they do this on day one? Why did 13 U.S. troops need to die? Why didn't we do this on day one when we were, bombing Khamenei? The simple answer is it's really not that easy. It's not that simple. They're trying to make it seem like every single week they've unlocked the new key to eliminating the Iranian regime. Hey, Americans, keep paying that $8 gallon oil. Keep paying all these increased prices for goods because we just found the key again. We just found a new key to topple the Iranian government. Hey, Americans, keep sending your sons and daughters to go die for Israel because we just found the new key to toppling the Iranian government. Yeah, it's not that simple. It's not that easy. And actually, no, this is not a key to toppling the Iranian government at all. But nonetheless, we have renewed strikes. Again, renewed because it's not the first time that they did this in this conflict. Renewed strikes on Kharg Island. The U.S. forces successfully struck more than 90 military targets on Kharg Island while preserving the oil infrastructure. Now, Trump did, in fact, say he was going to protect the oil infrastructure. This is his statement on the matter. He said moments ago, at my direction, the U.S. CENTCOM executed one of the most powerful bombing raids in the history of the Middle East and totally obliterated every military target in Iran's crown jewel, Kharg Island. Our weapons are the most powerful and sophisticated that the world has ever known. For reasons of decency, I've chosen not to wipe out the oil infrastructure on the island. Fact check here. Do we think that Trump did not wipe out the oil infrastructure on Kharg Island because he's such a decent and kind man. I mean, it's not like this is the guy that bombed a school and killed 170 plus 7 to 10-year-old primary school girls, right? This is totally not the guy that bombed 40 young girls playing volleyball to death on the first day of this war. He's just a decent, kind man, and he really cares about the oil infrastructure of Kharg Island. No, the simple reason as to why Donald Trump did not bomb the oil infrastructure of Kharg Island is because, A, if you do that, I mean, this undercuts the whole idea of Trump trying to drop oil prices, drop global oil prices. That's Trump's whole goal here. That's why Trump every few days is coming out and saying that, oh, the war's over. We declare victory. And Iran really didn't shut down the Strait of Hormuz. You guys go drive your ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Everything is okay. And then the markets go up. And then what happens immediately after? Iran strikes a few cargo ships, oil vessels near the Strait of Hormuz. And, the oil prices go down. And then after they do that, after the Iranians do that, the oil prices go back up. It's the same song and dance over and over and over again, okay? Now, the second reason why they're not targeting the oil infrastructure is because they fear retaliation. We'll get to that in a second. Third reason why is because Iran has other alternatives that they have also had to utilize during the Iran-Iraq war. Let's keep reading. However, should Iran or anyone else do anything to interfere with the free and safe passage of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, I will immediately reconsider this decision. During my first term and currently, I rebuilt our military into the most lethal, powerful, and effective force by far anywhere in the world. Iran has no ability to defend anything that we want to attack. There is nothing they can do about it. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, nor will it have the ability to threaten the United... Okay, we're just jibber-jabbering away here, all right? So here's the truth. According to Fars Field reports, 2 to 3 hours ago, this was published, let's see here, today, earlier this morning, Iran time, Kharg Island was subjected to U.S. attacks with more than 15 explosions on the island. During these attacks, the U.S. attempted to damage the Army's air defense systems, the Joshan Naval Base, the airport control tower, and the Iranian offshore oil company helicopter hangar. Fars field observations indicate thick smoke rising from various parts of the island, but none of the oil infrastructure was damaged in these attacks. Now, the interesting point here is that the U.S. claimed that they wiped out completely destroyed all of the military infrastructure on Kharg Island. However, 1 hour after the attack took place, there was air defense activity on the island, which straight up debunks their claims that they destroyed all air defenses here. Trump has also repeatedly claimed the complete destruction of Iran's missile capabilities. Yet the wave of missile and drone attacks from Iran has now reached its 48th round. And I think we're on 50 now as of this very second, because my Telegram is just popping off with all the updates. I mean, it's like second by second. Hezbollah. This is like the fifth Hezbollah wave we've seen today, fourth or fifth Hezbollah wave we've seen today. We saw that moments ago, American bases in Saudi Arabia got hit. Israeli drone down over Lebanon. What else did we see? Bahrain, Doha got hit really hard a few moments ago, like right when we started the stream. American Victoria base in Baghdad attacked by suicide drones. It just goes on and on and on. And today has been absolutely relentless. It has not stopped 1 second. Now, I'm telling you all of this about Kharg Island because the Pentagon just announced that they will be deploying 5,000 Marines, according to the Wall Street Journal, to the Middle East. This is a Marine Expeditionary Unit. I don't really know what they hope to accomplish. If it is, in fact, trying to seize Kharg Island, I'll give you my honest thoughts on it. I think it's going to result in a lot of dead Marines. I also don't really know. Maybe this is about trying to, again, lower the cost of global crude, show the world that, hey, look, we're gonna We're going to seize the oil export center and we're going to help. I don't know how that's going to help the oil prices, but I guess maybe U.S. action against Iran makes them think that, okay, well, then the Iranian regime is going to fall and then oil prices will be fine. Maybe they don't actually intend to do anything with these 5,000 Marines, but this is all fanfare to try and help the price of oil. If that's true, these Marines are not expected to arrive for another 2 weeks. So you got 2 more weeks at the very least of things continuing as they are today. So that's not really good for the U.S. Not good for the U.S. at all. 5,000 Marines, though. So let's just take a look back in the pages of the U.S. military war game history book to understand just how royally screwed the U.S. would be if they tried to actually invade Iran. So all the way back in 2002, the U.S. military ran the largest war game in its history. It was called Millennium Challenge 2002. A $250 million exercise involving 13,000 personnel designed to test Washington's future doctrine of network-centric warfare. The scenario simulated a war in the Persian Gulf against a regional power labeled Red, a state whose geography, doctrine, and strategy closely resembled Iran. The exercise assumed the United States would dominate the battlefield through advanced sensor, satellite networks, and centralized command systems. Instead, the opposite happened. The Red Force, commanded by retired Marine Lieutenant General Paul Van Riper, adopted asymmetric tactics similar to those associated with the Iranian doctrine. Orders were transmitted through motorcycle couriers and simple visual signals instead of radios, denying U.S. surveillance systems the electronic signatures they depended on to intercept command traffic. Once the American fleet entered the Gulf, Red launched a massive preemptive strike. Cruise missiles were fired in the saturation waves, while swarms of small boats closed in on the fleet. The attack overwhelmed the naval defenses. Within minutes, the simulation showed 16 U.S. warships destroyed, including an aircraft carrier, 10 cruisers, and most of the amphibious assault group. In a real conflict, the losses would have meant more than 20,000 American casualties and the collapse of the opening phase of the U.S. campaign. The results shocked the exercise controllers. The war game was halted, the destroyed fleet was refloated, and the scenario restarted under new rules that heavily restricted the Red side. From that point forward, the exercise was effectively scripted to produce a U.S. victory. Okay, so this is all the way back in 2002. You can imagine how well it would go today. Now, this is icing on the cake. As the U.S. is sending 5,000 Marines to the region, the U.S. is also simultaneously refusing to state the number of American casualties in the Iran war. In other words, it's really not going well.
Yeah, right there, green jacket.
Mike Bress with the Washington Examiner. How many American casualties have there been, and where were the American service members when they were injured?
It's a bunch of return to duty. So we've had a large majority have gone in for some medical treatment and return to duty. We've had in Kuwait, Jordan, down across the southern flank, a little bit, a variety of places, most from one-way attack strikes.
But I want to clarify that. I think what we've tried to do here is clarify those numbers rather than saying KIA or WIA wounded, be more clear about that because the overwhelming majority, almost 90%, thank God, are returned to duty, minor injuries returned to duty. And so that number can look a certain way, and our job is to add some fidelity to it.
Yeah, well, we want to be really specific. We want to be precise. And I'm not going to tell you how many, but most of them are injured, right? Most of them are injured. Well, we actually do have the number of KIA. According to the official sources, it's 13, 200 injured, 10 with critical injuries. And oh, by the way, if you thought you had heard this whole idea of starting a ground invasion in a major conflict that the U.S. has participated in recent U.S. history, by way of sending a Marine Expeditionary Unit of several thousand Marines, you have heard that before. In fact, that's exactly how the opening deployment of the Vietnam War began. Marine Expeditionary Forces were sent to Vietnam, and then we all know what followed. The Trump administration is starting to lean towards the idea of seizing Kharg Island in the Persian Gulf. However, the publication discussing this matter, the Washington Post, notes that due to the location of the island deep in the Persian Gulf, any amphibious operations by the U.S. against it would mean that American military ships and landing aircraft would be subject to attacks from Iranian drones and anti-ship missiles, not only during landing attempts, but also during their journey from the Strait of Hormuz to the island itself. It is noted that the Iraqi Air Force bombed Kharg Island during the Iran-Iraq War, destroying the oil facilities there. And this did not cause any riots among Iranian troops or the bankruptcy that the U.S. defense experts anticipate in the event of such an operation. This individual, Sahar, on Twitter writes, "The first time I visited Kharg Island, I was told that it was bombed nearly 3,000 times during the Iran-Iraq War, forcing Iran to relocate its exports to ship-to-ship transfers in the Strait of Hormuz. This means Iran already has other means of exporting oil. Kharg, known as the Pearl of the Persian Gulf, is a beautiful island of Iranian sovereign territory." So basically, it's not going to affect anything. And look at this photo of Kharg Island. This is where the U.S. wants to potentially send 5,000 Marines to go and storm. And then if they do that, the Iranians are just going to do ship-to-ship transfers and everything is going to be kosher. But if the U.S. sends thousands of troops to go take this stupid island that Iran doesn't even need, does that look like an island that is easily defensible for, amphibious troops landing on? Does this look like an island that U.S. troops would have anywhere to hide if the Iranians decided to drop everything they had on it? I mean, folks, let's be honest here. The way this war is probably going to come to an end is the forcing of Trump's hand by way of U.S. body bags coming back to the United States and Americans being very upset at the idea that Americans are dying in Israel's war on Iran. The quickest way Trump could achieve that result is by sending thousands of troops to this entirely flat island, which would then be probably leveled by Iranian ballistic missiles and Shahed drones. If not worse, if not completely, seizing the island, and any troops trying to leave, they send a drone at them or they send a naval drone at them. What do they think they're going to accomplish by taking this island? Oh, the troops get stuck on the island? Let's send some Chinooks in and evacuate them. Those Chinooks are going to get shot down. What do they think they're going to do here? Sending troops to this island is by far and away the number one quickest route to getting hundreds, if not thousands, of American KIAs immediately. Iran's foreign minister addressed these strikes on Kharg Island in this clip right here. Let's listen to what he had to say.
So the reaction would be clear. Last night, they have attacked Kharg Island and Abu Musa Island with, the artillery rocket system, HIMARS, as they call it, which is a low-range rockets. And they have done it from the soil of our neighbors. And this is crystal clear that now they are using the territory of our neighbors to attack us by these kind of, rockets.
So that's probably the craziest aspect of this whole story. So basically, Trump bombed Kharg Island for no reason, no real reason whatsoever. He bombed Kharg Island. Then we come to find out the Iranians say, hey, look, we've bombed so many of these American bases. They're freaking out so much. The warships are all retreating and fleeing. We've caused so much damage that the U.S. had to utilize soil of the UAE to carry out these strikes. So now we have confirmation that the UAE is indeed an active belligerent, offensive belligerent in this conflict by way of launching strikes from their soil on Kharg Island. Well, we all know what that means for the UAE. We had the Iranian spokesperson come out and say, due to the devastation to its military bases in the region, the invading U.S. Army has fired its missiles at the Iranian island from the cover of ports, docks, and hideouts in cities of the UAE. We announced to the leaders of the UAE that the Islamic Republic of Iran considers it its legitimate right in defense of its national sovereignty and territory to strike and target the launch points of enemy American missiles and shipping ports, docks, and hideouts of U.S. forces sheltered in some UAE cities. We asked the Muslim population of the UAE and population centers to evacuate the ports, docks, and American hideouts in UAE cities so that they will not be harmed. We also saw this. This is an advisor to Kellogg, who is in charge of the war in Iran, effectively. They said the United States has carried out a series of bombings in Kharg. These bombings have caused no damage to the oil facilities and key military infrastructure on the island. The U.S. objective is to persuade Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz, but Iran will establish a far more stringent equation in the Strait of Hormuz and the southern Gulf littoral states starting tonight. Oil facilities in the region's countries from which the United States profits or in which it holds a stake will be considered military targets. So oil facilities in the region's countries from which the U.S. profits or holds a stake will be considered military targets. Within hours, folks, what do we see in the UAE? Iranian missiles reportedly struck the Citibank office in Dubai. Citibank is one of the largest U.S. financial institutions operating in the Gulf. Lots of Gulf oil business. Drone strikes hit Citibank branches in Dubai and Manama and sparked a fire near Fujairah's oil facilities hours after Iran warned U.S.-linked energy and financial infrastructure in the region could become targets. To sum it up for all of you, another great account you should all follow on Twitter, Ripple Brain or Americanists, said, this is essentially what happened at Kharg Island. Trump ordered a strike, but it didn't target the oil terminal. Kharg has already been struck earlier in the war, and it's dubious that it has any significant military assets on it anyway. He threatened to target the oil terminal if Iran doesn't immediately open the Strait of Hormuz, which they will not. Targeting the oil terminal would just drive the price of crude higher. Doing so would make no sense. The U.S. Navy still isn't halting Iranian oil tankers in the Gulf or implementing a counter blockade. The Marine Expeditionary Unit of 5,000 Marines is en route, but it's 2 weeks away. Any landing force would be highly vulnerable to Iranian rocket systems and drones. Even if Kharg was taken and the oil there was held hostage, the Iranians have other options for export. If Trump orders the systematic destruction of Iranian oil terminals, they would have no reason not to mine the strait and destroy all the oil infrastructure in the rest of the Gulf. None of this would do anything to open the strait. So in other words, the U.S. has no strategy. They are flopping around like a fish out of water. They are in way over their head. And everything that they're even threatening of doing is only going to make their situation much worse. Trump is in a corner, but now he's trying to make it a corner where oil prices go through the roof, and he's surrounded by the corpses of 5,000 U.S. Marines. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.